Okay, well, Stuart, first of all, I guess we've got to talk about Bradford on Saturday. What was the feeling like following such a late postponement when you're already there?
I think it's a frustration from everyone, but we totally understand that obviously the ref's gone there and when he turned up at the ground and all of that it was playable. So, we have to take that and prepare for the game. But when we turned up, obviously there'd been a big downpour of rain and it's really frustrating that it was not playable. So it's frustrating that it's that close to kick off because it affects everything. But we've had a good week's training now.
Obviously, we've now got a date for that when it's been rearranged as well, and it means that March and the start of April is very, very busy. There's no more than 5 days between games, lots of games in quick succession, including Crawley, Accrington, Bradford, all away in the space of 7 days. How do you view all of that?
It's a very busy schedule, but it gives us a chance for the Hop to use the whole squad, which we said when we first come in as a management team, we need to make sure that we use the whole squad. Hopefully within that period we don't pick up any niggles or injuries, and look, it's a chance to put points on the board.
I guess one of the positives of the postponement is that it allows players like David McGoldrick, who missed out with injury last time out, to return. I guess that we'll be able to see him, or that he's at least ready for selection for Saturday. And are there any other absentees still? Now, how close to a full squad do you have available at the moment?
Look, there's still a few that are kind of on the training ground with us at the minute, but getting closer, but not totally in contention for the squad at the minute. But it's positives that they're out there. They've been training with us, which is really good.
How important is it at times like this, when things are slightly more rough in terms of form, to have senior players such as David McGoldrick available when you're going through a spell like this?
Look, I think it's key to have all your key players available when you're coming into runs of, like you said, we're going Saturday, Tuesday, over that 5-week period. It's very key to make sure you've got your key players about, and obviously, look, him getting out injured is one of those things, and you have to deal with it and you have to adapt. But look, we back the whole squad. Whoever comes in gets an opportunity to show what they can do as well.
In the Sutton game, we saw Sam Slocum ordering the odd instruction from the bench. We saw Jim O'Brien, who's obviously had a spell as caretaker manager, start. Just mentioned McGoldrick, of course. Are you sort of asking for that, for some more leadership responsibility from these types of players, or is it happening naturally? What's that kind of relationship like?
I think it just happens natural with those names that you've just mentioned. They're really good about the place. They're brilliant on the training field. With all the young lads. So look, they're brilliant about the place on the match day, whether they're starting or whether they're on the bench or they're not in the squad. They're great pros and they lead by example, and they're so key to have about because it sets the standards.
I don't know how much you look at the table, but 7 points, but also, perhaps more importantly, I'm not sure, 7 teams as well between you and the playoffs. That gap can't really be afforded to increase much more, can it?
Look, when you're looking at the points tally, while we're still in it mathematically, we'll keep going. We'll go one game at a time. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves. It's changing so quickly at the minute with teams putting little runs together. And it's the same for us. We need to put a little run together to put ourselves back in contention to get right in the mix again.
Obviously, home form not quite what you'd want at the minute, I'm sure. You had a similar run when you were in charge of Wealdstone, lost 3 in a row at home. I think, in fact, the last one was against Notts. But then you responded by winning 7 of 9 at home. So, you've turned around things like this before. How did you do that? And is there anything from that you can sort of lean on now?
Look, I think we had a very bad half of football against Sutton, and it's easy to come away from it and say that the performance has been good. The performances have been really good. We know that we've got issues in the sense of the types of goals that we're conceding that we're trying to address on the training field week in, week out. The more contact time we keep getting with them as the weeks go by, I feel that the more we will improve at it. And I think we're getting to that stage now. We hope now that we can give the fans to get behind us on Saturday. I think it'll be massively key that we start positively, though. It's down to us as a football team now. When we go on the pitch, we've got to start positively and get the fans right behind us. And then that breeds confidence. Once that happens, I think we can put runs of wins together.
Well, also, I guess kind of the perfect chance to do that, starting with Wimbledon on Saturday, is the start of 5 games where all those 5 teams are outside of the top 9. So it's a really good opportunity to put some points and some wins on the board.
No, definitely. Wimbledon have just had back-to-back clean sheets, and I think they kind of base their performances on that, and that's where a lot of their success has come from. So look, we know it's going to be a really tough game. It was a really tough game down there. We watched the game back where we lost down at Wimbledon earlier in the season. So we know what they're about, and look, we know it's going to be a tough game, but look, it's about us. We've got to make sure that we're on our game, and if we bring our game to the table, we know that we can get a positive result.
From what you see in your position day to day, how really strong is that belief that finishing inside the top 7 is still very much achievable?
Yeah, look, I think there's a real belief within the camp. I think over the last 18 months, when you're used to winning games, that's a habit. Also, we can't get into that habit of losing games, which are just in a bit of a bad run at the minute, but we need to make sure that we put back-to-back wins, and that's what gets you out of it, and then you go again, and then that's what brings the relief.
Well, best of Saturday, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.
Sam, over to you.
Yeah, hi Stuart.
How you doing, Sam? You okay?
Good, thank you. Not so obviously stayed a possession dominant team under yourself. So how do you convert that possession and that control that you do have in games with that into results?
Look, I think if you look at our performances since we've been in, like you said, we're very possession dominant, but I think we're creating lots of chances, and we're conceding not many, but the ones that we're conceding, we're actually conceding goals from, which is frustrating. So if you look at when you go back to the likes of the Crew game, that 11 entries into our box and scored 3 goals. So we've got to make sure that that's where we tighten up. Going forward, I think we're okay. I think it will come. I think the forwards are getting into really good positions. It's just a matter of time, and then they'll take their chances.
Is that an absence of fortune then in terms of the goals, the amount of goals you're conceding compared to chances you're conceding, or is it sort of on you as well as a team to fix that, like you say?
Look, I think we've made individual errors within the performances, which we need to work on individually with lads, but I think there's also been some team goals in certain scenarios where we've conceded goals that we can do better, we've been working on it on the training field. But look, we feel the lads, they want to learn, they want to try and improve, so that it gives you a great opportunity to do that.
And that first home win, when you get it, obviously you'll be aiming for it on Saturday, can be, I guess you hope, a tone setter for the rest of the season.
No, definitely. I think we've got to make this place a fortress. It has been over the years. We've got to make it a fortress again, and we've all got to stick together at the minute when times are difficult and really back each other. But I think once we get that first win, we'll be up and running.
I guess you hope the extra bit of freshness your team will have compared to Wimbledon. Obviously, you've played in midweek and last weekend. Will give you a slight edge, hopefully, on Saturday.
Look, we've just got to focus on ourselves in those scenarios. Look, we can't worry too much about Wimbledon's fixture schedule and how it's gone. We've watched their games back now that they've played Saturday, Tuesday. They've performed to a very high level. They've kept 2 clean sheets. They've been very good defensively. We know that they're going to be hard to break down. We've got to find a way.
And is your view purely short term at the moment in terms of what you believe you can still achieve this season, or is there any thought at all to how you look beyond this season and what your plans are for this team moving forward?
Look, I think you're always trying to look to see what you can visualise within the future, but at the minute we're just looking to go one game at a time and focus on that, and Wimbledon's the next game for that. So we'll make sure that we're focused and going into it and hopefully get a positive result.
Thank you, Stuart.
Cheers, Sam. Thank you.
Hi there, Stuart. Not many from me. But in terms of Wimbledon, I think they'll be relatively happy with you to have the ball. But have you been over this week working on different patterns of play in terms of the final third to break down teams that are quite hard to score against?
No, yeah, definitely it's something that we've worked on since we've got in here. Our structure behind the play as well, to make sure we don't get countered on, which we feel we've stopped. But definitely we've been working on different patterns of play, because Wimbledon have played 2 shapes in the last 4 weeks, so we've got to make sure that we can adapt depending on what game plan they come with.
As a coach, is that quite exciting, having such a range in quality in that attacking positions? Is that quite exciting to be able to coach and kind of train players like that?
No, definitely. Look, we've got a lot of quality in the top end of the pitch. We've got lots of quality all over the pitch. So within the structure, we get to get those players on the ball within that final third, and they can go and express themselves and make things happen for us.
And obviously we've been talking a lot about performances, just unfortunately to not get results. How key is it though to start getting a result ASAP to get the ball rolling, because we are getting to that back end of the season? No,
definitely. Look, the performance levels have been good by one half of football at Sutton, but look, we need to make sure that we turn our performances into results now, and we know that it's key, especially at home, because like I said earlier, we need to make this a fortress, so we need to make sure that we can pick up maximum points from our home games.
And stylistically, between Wimbledon and County, how do you think the game will set out?
Look, I think they're very good on the counter. They've got lots of quality in the top end of the pitch as well. But they're very good defensively as well. I think they've got a really good balance within their squad at the minute, and I think that's why they kind of are in a league position, and they've kind of been in and around the top end of this league this season. They've lost their star striker, which is always hard to replace, but they've brought in Jack Kelly, who was brilliant in the National League for Solihull. So we know that what he poses and what threats he poses. So we know that he's a similar type of player that wants to run in behind and can dribble at you. So we know it's going to be a really tough test.
And like I said, on paper, you're a side that likes playing with the ball. They're a side that are happy to sit off it, but then break when the opportunities arise. Is that something that makes your side have to be aware of crisp passes and attention throughout the game? Because any moment that you do slip up, they might punish you.
No, definitely. We've got to make sure that our structure's good behind the ball, and that's the key to this game on Saturday. Make sure we defend our box well, because they've got a long throw. And any given chance they'll try and put it in your box, so we've got to make sure that we do the basics well and defend our box well.